This episode is ad-free on the Patreon. So if you want to partake in that, you can head on over to patreon.com/reality tea times two. Patreon going strong. If you want to go over there and join in on the fun, we got 3 tiers on Canadian dollars. First tier is $3 a month, where you get these episodes ad free. You also get AMAs once a month, or learn about me episode once a month. And then on the second tier, which is $5 a month, you get everything from the first tier, as well as coverage of a reality show of yesteryear. That's right now Jersey Shore, currently in season 3. You can also go to the main feed, where there will be the first episode of every season released there. So you can try that before you head over to the Patreon. And then on the third tier, you get everything from the first 2 tiers, as well as coverage from a true crime documentary. We got the backlog of Ashley Madison documentary, Man of 1,000 Kids, Into the Fire, Lacey Peterson, and again, all those episodes for the first episode of each is in the main feed, so you can try that before you head over. So if you are interested, you can head over to patreon.com/reality tea times two, and you can sign up for whichever tier you feel for. Again, you can try before you buy, which basically means you can try any tier for a week before committing to it. Even if you are on other tier, if you are on tier 1 or the first tier and you want to go over to the second tier, you could still try that second tier for a week before committing to the upgrade. So again, that is at patreon.com/reality tea times two. And of course, the link is in the show notes, website, social media accounts. It's all available there. Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we are going to be doing the reunion for Love is Blind, and then we'll be done with this season. So here we go. Before I get into it, the looks on this stage was a bit much. I liked Brie, the color of her dress. I didn't particularly like the style of the dress. I thought Brittany looked good as well. Alex comes on looking like he just rolled out of bed. I mean, anyways, let's just get into this. The Lachey's are here, obviously. We apparently have all 150 participants over the last 10 years. Actually, we don't, but that's okay. We even have some eye drops that are here. We have Carlton. Do you remember Carlton from season 1, who got engaged but it didn't last? We'll be talking about him in a future episode on Patreon. If you're interested, we'll kind of get to that when we get to that. Damien's here with Gigi, kind of like right behind him, so that was interesting. We also have Megan Fox, aka Chelsea. She's here as well. And don't y'all forget it, but we got the cuties. No Zenab, no Cole. Interesting enough. Anyways, Cameron is here as well, but he's solo because Lauren is with the baby. Everyone else is here from this cast. We didn't have any we didn't have a lot of people on the outside really involved in some of this. We really just had our core cast. So that was an interesting difference. But anyways, we start with Vic and Christine. Her friends literally told her she's too boring to be on reality TV. Well, he says the best thing about living with her is that home feels like home with her. That's so sweet. She just loves coming home to him. Vic actually has met her dad. She was actually encouraged by him to kind of rekindle that relationship with her father. So she ended up meeting up with him not long after the wedding. When her dad asked if she was dating anyone, she was like, bam, here's the ring. I'm actually married. So I think we do come back to Vic and Christine later at the end to make this not so depressing. So we move over to Amber and Jordan. So I think no surprise to anybody because I think we've been hearing rumblings. They are not together. They lasted about 4 months. He says, I know there was trust issues on her side. And he felt like he was fixing a trust that he didn't break. And that is the problem. It's like we're human. We all can hold on to our past and that be put on the new person. Um, and I think it does take a huge, to be very intentional to make sure that doesn't happen, where you're not pushing that onto your current partner, especially when they didn't do anything wrong. Um, I think I've talked about this before when I first met my boyfriend after, while starting or about to start sort of a process of going through a divorce, I had to, well, and he talked about it with me as well and made it very clear that he didn't want to live in the shadow of my soon to be ex-husband. And I had to be very intentional and to not put my ex-husband's mistakes onto that current relationship. And he would make his own mistakes. It's a different thing altogether. But I think with Jordan, there are some, I wouldn't say red flags, I'd say yellow flags in the sense of I don't know if he was necessarily ready for a woman with a child. So there's that. But I think all in all, he is a good guy. So they did not move in with each other. She feels that he wasn't ready, as I just said. I don't think he was. They were only seeing each other on weekends. Now, you can't sustain a marriage when you're only seeing each other on weekends. And she says, like, why would you want to be out on a Tuesday night with your friends? Like, if you're now a husband, like, why would you want to focus on that when you should be focusing on your marriage? Um, and she says, like, why not be with your wife? And he says that he would see her, but then she would say, like, those visits wouldn't count, which is, I wouldn't say that they wouldn't count. What I think could be better received is if you say, it's not enough. I want more. Well, how can we get to more? I think that would have been maybe better received. Just him saying it, you could tell it hurts him to think that she ever thought that. Apparently, she got blackout drunk at a wedding that he was best man at, so he got embarrassed by that. She would apparently scream at him, not show up to things. I think another wedding that he went to, she showed up, either she showed up late to the ceremony or she didn't even get to the ceremony and showed up at the reception drunk. I think there definitely is some form of problem here with her drinking, but he said, I was looking out for myself and my mental health because this relationship was toxic. He said, Emma and I were good. We got along. It was me and Amber that didn't. Go to figure. She said, you didn't even say goodbye to her. Okay, now that's fucked up. You, she's a little girl who I'm assuming she's about 8 years old. She's a little girl that doesn't understand why you're not there. And you're there and then you're not. She's warming up to you and then you're just not there. And then you don't explain to her why you're not going to be there anymore. You know, that's confusing to a little girl, or just a child, just in general. And I do think that's shitty of him to not say goodbye to her. He says, I didn't know the proper etiquette with that. Ask questions. Ask questions. I think even your attempt to say, how, when do I go about, saying goodbye to her because like you owe it to her? Even if you're asking that question, I think again, that goes a long way. She says, I don't think you realize the commitment that you made. She then, Jesus, just freaks out and says, I told you to be sure before coming into this. And then she just walks off. Um, well, here's the thing. I understand where she's coming from, of course. She's a single mother with needing to look out for her child's best interests. But then again, you didn't also give enough time for Jordan to come to that realization, before the wedding. There was a day between him meeting your daughter and then marrying her mother. You didn't give him enough time. Yes, be sure, but you also didn't give him enough time to be sure. So it's on him for let's say goodbye to her, not maybe being fully ready for this, and not understanding the gravity, uh, even partially understanding the gravity of marrying into a unit where this is a single mother and her daughter. But I also put it on her for not setting him up for success, really. He says, I feel like this is being weaponized because I'm not going to be treated unwell in the relationship. And I do understand what he's saying here. I do think him not saying goodbye to her, to Emma, is being weaponized. But, like I've been saying, I also think it's wrong to have not said goodbye to her. Anyways, Tyler is here. Tyler of, the the triangle that was Tyler, Kevin, and Kia. And AD is side host, question mark. So is Gigi, but whatever. Meanwhile, Amber came back and she still hates Chris. And I think we can all agree on that. And Jordan is a great guy. He's not a Chris. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Chris, you're the reason I hate men. Yeah, you're the reason men suck. Some men, not all men. And she says, like, you suck. She's like, I won't pick on you. I still hate you. But then we move on to Bree and Connor. So she does feel bad about how she treated him at times. You mean like a piece of shit? Today, y'all, I think again, surprise to no one, we're hearing rumblings, but still, how in the Lord did we get here? They're still together. Who knew that was going to happen? He moved to Columbus and moved right beside her. They don't live together, but they're neighbors. Connor forgot his suit, so Daddy Brittany came and saved the day. Okay. Then we watched the shit Chris said in the bathroom at the party. If you need that refresher, it's basically he's kind of like, oh, she's hot, and I don't care about anybody else here. I'm going to talk to her, blah, 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 like basically that. And then the maniacal laugh at the end. Connor, what do you think about all of this? I have no thoughts. He doesn't cross my mind because he ain't worth the space in my brain. He didn't realize that he was coming on so strong to Bree, and he really was. He thought that they were talking about Jess. Well, we already know that the girl doesn't do Pilates or CrossFit, so what's more to say? You know what I mean? She's gonna try and steal your girl. Anyways, he thought that, I thought that right. He's like, I trust her. Me and him were best friends in the pods, and then he undercut me to get her. That's never worked in history. Yeah, no, it doesn't. But he has nothing to say to him at this point because why waste my time? But Bree does believe she entertained Chris way too long. Ye Okay. Here's the thing. Bree, y the words that are coming out of your mouth make sense. However, I do not think you actually believe that. I think you're only saying that because the world came for you. That's the only thing. She says, "I was all in on Connor the whole time." Were you though? Were you though? But she is looking forward to getting to the altar at her pace with, I guess, Connor. Surprised they're still together. Anyways, we move on to Chris. Just Chris now and kind of Jess too. Nick is like, you know, you did something that has never happened. You managed to piss off not only all of the women, but all the men. We had to walk away from the TV a few times because shit. Chris is like, yeah, yeah, it was hard to watch. That's the understatement of the century. I'm not proud of a lot of those moments. And Nick comes back with, that's it. You know what, Nick? I'm liking this. I'm liking this. You're getting a little, a little sass. It's a little heated. 98 degrees isn't really hot, but it's kind of right there. Right. It's borderline becoming a fever. You're on fire, sir, is the point. You and Connor were the closest. And then you backstabbed him. And then you bro it out with him after, trying to steal his fiance. Make it make sense, my guy. And Nick is like, do you have anything you want to say, Connor? I think really he's trying to give Connor an opportunity here to be like, fuck you, dude. But this is not Connor's nature. So basically I think he's saying, do you have anything you want to say to Connor? Um, so yeah, anyways, Chris is like, I'm sorry that I disrespected you for putting Bree in that situation. He's not. I want to be accountable. No, you don't. I'm not looking for an apology. Yeah. So cool. This point now we move on to talking about Justin and Chris. And again, Nick kind of comes out with the 1-2, you know, 1-2 punch. Because he's like, why compliment how she looks if you weren't attracted to her? Exactly. We're talking about how she's beautiful. She says that she is. But we're going to later find out, sir, you're actually not attracted to her because she doesn't do Pilates and CrossFit. I'm never going to let this go. Um, he says, I didn't have doubts at first. So all of a sudden you head back to Ohio and you're like, there's something missing with her. Oh, you know what it is? My girl does not do Pilates. She does not do CrossFit. She just walks around a hospital all day. That's not exercise. Like this guy is full of shit. He's like, we just saw each other. We had a connection in the pods. I didn't want to plant seeds of doubt. So Jess, like, did you think there was something else going on? And she said, absolutely. When someone has deep insecurities, they try to bring someone else down. Yeah. Oh, really? The insecurities. Insecurities like what? Of the finances. Because he ain't as well off as he's trying to portray he is. But anyways, not feeling stable. This alpha shit I didn't see because I wouldn't put up with it. Because she's a boss bitch. Did you feel insecure about her success? Coming back to you, Chris. And it's like nothing to do with the decision I made. Uh, Here's the thing. I don't think that's the issue here. Honestly, I don't think we'll ever really fully know what the issue is here. But I mean, uh, I don't know. Maybe he is a person who's like, I need to be the breadwinner. And that could very well be it. He could be some person who's like, I need to be the breadwinner, knowing full well this woman's a doctor and she's going to be the breadwinner. It could be. Who knows? Um, but anyways, yeah, saying this has nothing to do with this decision. I'm like, really? Because like you disappeared for 2 days after you entered her home. Right. We didn't know the duration of how long he'd been gone, but he did disappear for at least a day. We kind of gathered that. And I'm like, where were you? In Devontae's nothing box because like the fuck? And he says, I was emotionally immature. I put physical connection above emotional. You still do. Please don't tell me. Don't try to convince me that you do different. You don't. Are we making changes? Or is this fake? He's like, I'm trying to be more emotionally mature. He says, I'm sorry for how I treated you, Jess. I don't think I will ever have an emotional connection with anyone else like I had with you. I am sorry. Yeah. She says, thank you for apologizing, and more importantly, thank you for showing me who you were quickly. Damn, that was a roast. We see a clip of the girls at the party talking to Chris, and the only thing that seems to hurt her the most in this situation was how the girls did not show up for her in the way she thought they would. Like they were kind of entertaining him and things he was saying. But she says, if this happened to me 2 years prior, I would have been a wreck. But I worked on myself and I'm so good. Hi, everyone. So I have a new product for you to partake in. One that I'm going to share with you, and that is Be Believe. So, Be Believe in the power of playful learning. So, dive into the world of wonder with Be Believe's rich collection of animations, catchy songs, playful coloring pages, hands-on activity sheets, and engaging ebooks. Each element is thoughtfully crafted to captivate young minds while reinforcing positive behaviors in a fun and meaningful way. Whether your little one is watching a magical adventure, singing along, coloring their favorite character, or reading an enchanting tale, every moment is packed with joy, learning, and imagination. So if you go to our unique code or link in order to not only support Be Believe, but also support the podcast, you can head to be-believe.com/reality2. So that's www.believe.com/reality2. So that is REALITEATWO. And the link is also in the show notes where you can also link to that. So head on over to Be Believe with our unique code link, and you can unleash good behavior through enchanting tales, where imagination and good behavior unite. Thank you, Be Believe, for supporting this podcast. Now, back to the show. So anyway, we're done with them because then we move on to Gigi talking to this guy, Harmel, who was in the pods. I do remember seeing his picture before, but we didn't really see much of him. He kind of looks like a Ramses in a sense, but it's not Ramses. But yes, he was in the pods and he found love with Jess now. Apparently, they were talking in the pods, but for whatever reason, it just didn't, I guess, pan out. So, but they've found it now. They said on the outside it took her a while, but eventually he said, I know what I want. I'm like, that fucking guy. And I want you. I'm like, that fucking guy who apparently has like, I don't know what's going on. Reverse spear goggles? Like, what is going on? But anyways. And y'all, he's also a doctor. So he understands, like I said before, like he understands what it's like to be, in that place. So, um, he's the sweetest, I think. He said, "I love you, and the fact that you're in that package, like, you're so hot." So then we move on to Mike and Emma. So he was shocked by her yes, and I could tell he was shocked by her yes. Um, because apparently, though, what we don't know is that they spoke 2 days prior saying that they weren't ready to get married. Not necessarily not ready to not be together. I think I think they were both open to still staying together, but that didn't happen because making a decision about kids in a short time was unfair. So that's good to know that he did realize, like, she can't make this decision in like 6 weeks. This is a huge decision to make. So I don't want to put that pressure on her and marry her if she's not fully there yet. I think that's makes a whole ton of sense. However, Vanessa's like, "You can't do that. You can't make a decision prior. That's not how the show works." I think, Vanessa, what you need to understand is I think people do this, and I personally don't see a problem. Um, I think it's out of respect for the person that you're with that you're like, "Listen, I like you. I'm into you. I've fallen in love with you. But I just don't know if marriage is right for us at this time. So I think maybe we both say no or whatever, or at least know that I am going to say no, and then we go from there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Um, but anyways, um, so yes, they were going to say no and and figure it out from there. So he felt pretty blindsided by her yes. But I'm gonna get to it later because I don't want to jump ahead. Um, Emma says, "I made my decision because I love you, and I knew by me saying yes, there were going to be kids at the end of our journey." Okay, but did he know that? He didn't know that. And here's the thing. I think you should have, because he brought up the fact that kids is a big deal for him and that he doesn't think he can make a decision. Or no, he didn't really say that part, but in his vows, because obviously she went first, in his vows, he was saying, like, kids, 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 kids. Like, he kept referring back to kids. And I think because he was doing that, I think it would have made sense for her to be like, "Hey, I love you. And I know that our future has children in it because I want that with you." I think he would have given a very different answer. um, than what he did because he did not realize, or clearly no conversation was had, where you tell him, "Hey, if I say yes up there, it's because I'm at a place where I think that I can give that to you, where I want that for our family." Our family to be, I want that. You didn't communicate that with him. Is he supposed to be a mind reader? So, I think things would have gone very differently if communication was maybe a little tighter. Um, but he also says, which I can understand what he's saying, but I don't know if I can consider it a switch up because she was never saying hell no to kids. She was saying, "I'm not sure about kids," for legitimate reasons. So I wouldn't necessarily consider what she did as a switch up, but he does. He says, she if she can make a switch so quickly based on emotion, what will happen later? I don't know. I hear him, but I don't know if I fully agree with him. But Emma is single, focusing on herself. She ended up going to therapy. I think that is the best decision she could have ever made. I personally think she did not need a husband yet. She needed a therapist. I really do. I think she needed to work through things and come to some sort of conclusion on, I don't know if it will necessarily happen for me, but I know ultimately that I want to have children, or I don't wanna have children. I think she needs to make that decision. I think she needs to come to terms with how things worked for her in life with the adoption, being, the only Asian child in the Caucasian family. I think that she needs to work through those things, work through the surgeries, the scars, the almost melanoma things that she was dealing with. I think she needs to work through so much before she can say she's a wife. We're never going to fully be where we need to be. Let's make that very clear. We're never going to fully be where we need to be, but I think she needs to start laying a foundation for herself so that when time comes, she can better lay a foundation for a partnership. So I think that's the best decision that she made. Mike is in a relationship for now 7 months, and y'all, Emma looks very unhappy. Then here's my thing. Maybe her saying yes up there at the altar that day just threw him, and he maybe thought, like, I can't do that because maybe he felt embarrassed. I don't know. But if the whole plan was for you guys to see how this can work out past the wedding and you didn't, that's interesting to me. But because we don't get any information, this is what I wanted to say. We didn't get any information as to whether or not they did try, or if they tried, it didn't work out, or they just didn't try at all. We didn't get that. And I think that would have made things make a little bit more sense as to how he ended up in a relationship now for 7 months. Let's remember, this filming of the season was about a year prior. So, not right away, but he was either single or maybe trying with her for about 5 months, maybe, whatever. So, I guess I just want to know what happened in those 5 months where he wasn't in a relationship, she wasn't in a relationship. Did you guys try? So that's what I want to know. Like, because how is it now Mike is hearing that you saying yes meant yes to children? How is he now hearing that? How did he not hear that if the end goal here was to kind of see how things can pan out for you two? So I don't know. I kind of wish I had a little bit more information on that. But anyways, we move on to Alex and Ashley. So there was uncertainty about the gaps in Austin. We're still on Austin. Can I just say, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, who gives a fuck? Now, do I understand why she wants to know because he's a liar? Sure. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What he was doing prior to being with you doesn't mean shit. Who gives a rat's ass what he was doing? If he was fucking this girl, that girl, a next girl, whoever girl, it doesn't matter. If he was living in Austin, uh, California, Arizona, who gives a fuck? It doesn't matter. So I think, honestly, I would say to Ashley, why is it so important for you to know? Why is it so important for you to trap him in something? If you were unhappy about something in the relationship, deal with that or leave. But I just think, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me why we have to continue beating this dead horse, because I don't give a fuck what he was doing prior to being with you, or prior to being on the show. I could care less. He says there were no gaps in the story, but he says he wasn't lying, whatever. Honestly, I don't think he was. I just don't think she liked what he had to say. But I think, like, I don't know. I just don't care. I guess that's what it comes down to. I just don't care. But Ashley says, like, you said you would say things because you didn't want to be questioned. Yeah, bitch. Because you keep asking him the same damn question a million to trillion times. I want to know, when did he say that to you? Did he say that to you in the beginning when there was no reason for him to say that? Or did he say that to you after you've been questioning him time after time after time about the same fucking thing? I think any person, I don't want to give Alex anything, but I think any person would be like, I don't want to fucking answer these questions anymore. I don't want to say shit to you because you're going to analyze every little fucking thing I say. I think just, we're not getting the full story here, but I think Ashley was asking him so many damn questions that he's like, fuck it, I don't want to answer any more questions because you're going to spin it, everything that I say. They both suck. That's the thing. Like, I don't care that I'm not, like, not necessarily coming for him in this case, but he has his issues. Um, and she has huge issues as well. I don't like either of them. I can't stand either of them. Um, so yeah, or tell me you fucked up or you weren't looking for a wife. It's okay. I think he was looking for a wife. I just don't think he was looking for you. But I think he was looking for a wife. I don't think he should be, but I think he was looking for a wife. And fucked up. Fucked up how? Fucked up with what? Fucked up with a life that had nothing to do with you? That's not how this works. I can't go to my boyfriend and be like, oh, you didn't tell me the timeline about this, or this. It doesn't matter. What he was doing prior to 2017 doesn't matter to me. Okay? Prior to October 2017, it doesn't matter to me. I don't give a shit. We have lives outside of the relationships that we are currently in. We have lives outside of that. So I do not care what was going on prior to me. I don't care about the timelines. I don't care about anything like that. Now, do I know that my boyfriend's stories are consistent? Yes. Maybe the timeline might get screwy. Sure. But it is what it is. But nonetheless, the story itself is consistent. Would I make a big deal if it weren't? No, because I don't care. Um, as long as it didn't happen while we were together. But, um, so for him, it appears for me that his stories were consistent, but the timeline might have been a little screwy. Is that a red flag? No, I would say yellow, but I don't think it matters. I just don't. Um, so anyways, he says that he was looking for a wife. I just didn't see any. Oh shit. Oh shit. Well, tell us how you really feel, Alex. I thought that was fucking funny. Because that's the thing. I don't think she's ready to be a wife either. I don't think he should be looking for a wife, and I don't think she should be a wife. I think she has a lot of growing up to do, and he needs a lobotomy. So I just, anyway. Um, well, this was Love is Blind. I mean, you're not supposed to see anybody. Okay, that was a funny dinger. Thank you for that. But let's be real. He wasn't attracted to her. He wasn't. He was not attracted to her. It's not that she wasn't attractive, and he says as much. It says that he wasn't attracted to her. She is not his typical type. He made that very clear. And Ashley says, I mean, you saw Brittany and you were all over that because that's the typical type. But he says correctly, part of the issue is you weren't healed by your ex. So you're bringing in like your past traumas into this relationship. That was part of the problem. Not the whole problem, but part of it. We saw that with Amber and Jordan. You didn't give me the chance to outperform that person. He never would have been able to, mind you. Vanessa says, I think you're always guarded, Alex. Maybe try to be a little bit vulnerable. And that's, I think, part of the problem. Okay, let's break this down, y'all. I don't know if he's necessarily this, but I'm going to just assume he is a narcissist. He doesn't think his shit stinks. He thinks he's fine. He thinks he does nothing wrong. And I feel like narcissists are incapable of being vulnerable. And if they are capable of being vulnerable, or not capable, but attempt to be vulnerable, it comes off as disingenuous. Example, Cody fucking Brown. That man is incapable of actually being genuine in his vulnerability. So that's how this would have looked. I don't know if Alex has ever attempted to be vulnerable. But I'm going to say if he did attempt to be vulnerable, it's not going to come off as genuine. And I think that fake or this ingenuous vulnerability is going to be even worse for a woman to not suss out those signs. So, yeah, I think that's the issue here. And then the intimacy, they kind of talk about that. He says, "Sometimes I wasn't interested, like, after being interrogated by your dad." Now, I think for Ashley, she can't compute that a man isn't just down to fuck every second of every day. Doesn't matter the situation. Now, there are men that are like that. For example, my boyfriend. It doesn't matter what's happening. He's ready to go. You know what I mean? But there are men out there. Men aren't just sex machines. Let's remember this. Like women, sometimes we may not necessarily always be able to want to perform, but then there are women who are able to perform no matter the circumstances. Again, hi, me. Um, but the same thing goes for men. And I think Alex is the type of guy who isn't always wanting, not say he's incapable of, but not always wanting to perform dependent on what happens throughout the day. So I think that's fair. I don't think that's like a big deal, but I think unfortunately Ashley is like a me, whereas Alex is like a Gino. Except for Gino is more manipulative with that. He weaponizes that. It's a little different, but that's kind of the idea that I'm trying to give y'all. So I think that is kind of what the issue is here. Their sexual compatibility isn't there either. Um, but the mud date, you left to go see whomever, and he said, "Then wait until I come back." The fuck you say? I would. I'm different. But again, though, I have respect for my relationship, and I know my boyfriend loves the fuck out of me, so I don't have to worry about that. So I'll be like, okay. So that's a little different. But I think for some people, and I don't think that's anything wrong with that, where it's like, no, the mood has now gone. I'm coming home and I'm ready to just rip your clothes off, not wait for you on the bed while you're doing God knows what. So that's kind of gross. He said he was blindsided by her words at the altar. She tried to be like the big bad wolf. I wasn't impressed by it, but it's okay because I don't like her. Um, so he's living in Arizona, and y'all, guess whose new roomie is? Devontae. Now, this is what's going to be weird about Devontae. We'll get to Devontae because we're going over now to Brittany and Devontae. So, or Devo. Okay. So she says, after postponing, I wasn't calm. I was just believing what he told me because she did come across as very calm. I think that was the incorrect word to use. Obviously, we don't want to like make her look like she's dumb here, but the right word to use, honestly, to describe what we witnessed with that is gullible, naive. Her believing this man who gave her nothing throughout the relationship. That's what we saw. Not so much calm. Um, and to call me a shadow was offensive because I have been giving him space so much that my love language wasn't being fulfilled. I do think what he said about her, referring to her as a shadow, was a cheap shot. So that was horrible. She So sorry, so about 2 weeks after filming, she hadn't seen him. No shock there. She texted him and said, "If you don't want to be in this, please just tell me." And he said, "No, no, what you talking about, girlfriend? I do." He didn't. Let's just be very clear. He did not. He said he was going on a work trip to her, but y'all, he actually didn't go on a work trip. He ended up on a trip with Brie, Ashley, and Priyanka to go to Austin. What is going on in Austin, y'all? To a concert. Connor thought I I didn't know that he was there. I thought it was a girls' trip. So he didn't even know what was going on. But he didn't seem to make a big deal about it. Bree says it wasn't a big deal. Like no one told Brittany because I guess they didn't know that they were together. Okay, okay. But according to Brittany, I don't know how much she was seeing these women in those 2 weeks, but she said she was still wearing her ring. So if she's still wearing her ring and y'all are supposed to be friends, like, how do you not know that you guys are not together? Um, so the question is then asked, was no one friends with Brittany? And they're like, yeah, we were friends with Brittany. And Priyanka says, not really. Bitch, who asked you though? No one fucking asked you. You're not a part of the main cast. I don't give a fuck if you're friends with her or not. But like you gotta be like, not really. Is it about her? Or is it about the fact that no one gives a fuck about you anyways because you're just one of the randos that we see on the show? But Ashley says, if we knew he lied, of course we would say something. And Bree is like, I don't know why we have to ask permission. You don't have to ask permission. He's his own man. He can make his decisions. But you should have informed her because he was fucking lying. To be like, hey, we're going to a concert. Devontae's coming with us. Don't know if like he invited you. Like, would you want to come or something like that? And that would have been like, I'm sorry, what now? That would have just simple. That's all you need to do. Again, goes to show that these fucking people are not. They don't know how to be friends with people. Um. So, and again, it's also just invalidating how she feels about all of this. What do you mean, ask permission? Fuck you, Brie. So he had his Airbnb, or he was supposed to have his own Airbnb, but that didn't actually happen. He didn't have his own Airbnb the whole time. He was supposed to get his own, but he ended up staying with Priyanka against her wishes. She just wanted the girls there. She didn't want Devontae there, which is fair. Brittany says, I just wish for, some girl code. That's it. Bottom line. Apparently, girl code and guy code is not a thing in Ohio. Like, what the hell, y'all? Amber was like, yeah, like, don't trust these men. Like, just because he's telling you. And it's very true. Just because he's telling you, this is this, but not really. This is actually how it is. Fact check. Fact fucking check. And I don't necessarily want to be quite like Amber in the sense where I have absolutely no trust in men, but you also can't trust these men. You need to fact check. Always fact check. Anyway, so Brittany, how did you find out about this whole situation? Amber, y'all. Amber told her. Because she didn't know. She literally just found out maybe a couple months before this reunion. This happened, I believe, closer to when, like literally weeks after, like 2 weeks after they didn't break up, just didn't go to the altar. So 2 weeks after filming Wrapped. So she had only just found out. Amber's the one that told her. She says, I didn't tell her to be catty because she didn't know that she didn't know. So that's the thing. And also that he had lied. So how did you find out, Amber? Jordan, y'all, because clearly someone must have told Jordan, whether it was Devontae or somebody else, but someone else told him clearly, and he told Amber, and then Amber told her. Girl code, that's how that fucking works. Ladies, take a tip or two, you know? But when Brittany's dad comes up, he is so cool as a cucumber, and so calm, and says, he does want the best for him. But did you lie to me about being ready to marry my daughter? Ooh. He said, I thought I was, I was ready, but then I wasn't. Like, what do you want me to say? Sir, you were never going to marry this woman. You were never going to marry her. We know this. So Devontae, or Devo, as the women call it, Devo, shut the fuck up. Devontae is in a relationship with somebody else. Let me say something. The someone else that he's in a relationship with, they did show pictures of her because she was there at the reunion, but they just didn't show her for whatever reason, which I thought interesting because we saw Mike's girlfriend. But anyways, they this woman that he is with, no offense to her, this is not to come at her, but this is just to make what we know make sense. She is exactly the type of woman that he clearly goes for, which is a white woman. And she is, how do I say this nicely? She is, Devontae is not a very great looking guy. I think of not only was it that Brittany was black, but I also think that it was because Brittany is fucking gorgeous. More gorgeous than Devontae is himself. I think he needs to be with a woman who is not as attractive as Brittany is to make himself look and feel better. Whereas if you are a real dude here, you should be able to handle a woman being more beautiful than you. That's what I think it comes down to for me. She isn't quite what I expected, but just the fact that she is Caucasian, I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's exactly what he is looking for. Um, and he is going to be a father, y'all. He's going to be a daddy-o. Can I say something? This girl that he is with, who he's actually engaged with, she is in Ohio. She lives in Ohio. If we remember that we just had a conversation about how him and Alex are roommates in Arizona. Sir, what the fuck are you doing in Arizona when you have a pregnant fiance? Honey, he's cheating on you. He's cheating on you. There's no way in fucking hell that my man, while I'm big and pregnant, is going to be living in a whole other state in a bachelor pad with this fucking guy. You know what I mean? Honey, he's cheating on you. Like, no way. There's no fucking way. You cannot tell me that he's not cheating on her. He is cheating on her. There's just no way in hell. What's in Arizona? Especially, like, since you seem to have ended up with a person who lives in Ohio, I'm assuming, living in Ohio. What's in Arizona? What's there? Make that make sense to me, please. It's very weird. But Brittany is not seeing anyone right now, and that's basically where we end the episode. We kind of do like a little song montage thingamajigger, and I didn't care. So, but we did see like the pictures of all of our married couples who are still married, and like their photos and stuff, and it was adorable and it was very sweet. So, but otherwise, that's where we end. There was no mention about what season's coming next, which I thought interesting. But you know what they've done in the past, though, in past seasons, which maybe was a little different than this one, is they've had people from the next season on the reunion episode to kind of be like, "This is where we're going. We're going to Denver." The fuck, I told you to abort that mission. But anyways, that's I think there was a difference here because we didn't have those people there. We only had our previous alumni basically from the previous seasons. So I think that's maybe the difference here. But it would have been nice to know where we're going next, Nick and Vanessa. But you know what? You did a really good job with this reunion. I thought you guys were incredible. The other thing that I want to talk about very quickly, I didn't write it down because it's not relevant to this season, but I do love Zach and Bliss. I don't know how I feel about the grandma announcing the gender. I don't know how I feel about it. Um, I feel bad for Zach that the matriarch of his family is now gone. And when his mom was, he talked about his mom being gone during his season. So he's kind of lost that last matriarch of his family. So that's really sad. I condolences to his family, to him and his family. But this was an interesting topic. I think I thought it was sweet. The premise of it was sweet. I feel like doing it on television for everyone to see was a little bit exploitative. I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, y'all, that's the episode. That's it for me. That's Love is Blind. Season overall for me, it was a good season. It was a good season. Um I wish that we got a little bit more Vic and Christine, just so that I could like I said, I love their love story. I love that they're happy, but I think for me, it's hard for me to be fully invested in their story because we just didn't get enough of them. So I think in future, if this show is going to have 7 couples because you're trying to redeem the fuck up that is only one couple getting married and then not staying together, um, I think then what you need to do, because they just didn't want a repeat of Denver where no one's together after this. They didn't get married and they're really not together at the end of this. So I think what they need to do is maybe do a little bit better in getting us to be invested in that couple for whom they are trying to root for. So, because I just can't root for them because I just don't know them enough. So I think that's the problem. But either way, y'all, that is it for me. That is it for this episode. If you liked what you heard, bear with me because I have not done an outro for this, for the podcast in quite some time. So bear with me here. So if you liked what you heard, you can go to any of your favorite podcast apps. You can like, follow, make sure you don't miss a single episode. And you can also rate the podcast at either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It'd be greatly appreciated. As a reminder, any 5-star ratings that are given to the podcast or any comments that are given to the podcast will be read on the podcast, which I have done in the past. If you want to connect with the podcast through social media, you can find me at Facebook and Instagram at Reality T times 2. You can also find me at Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Reality times 2 pod, I believe. You can email me at realityt times 2 at hotmail.com, and you can have any inquiries, anything like that, any ideas, any shows or episodes you want me to cover, you can definitely do that over there. And I am going back to our old website, and that is at solo.to/reality times 2. There you can get any of the links to anything that I didn't mention here, any of the socials, website, email, all of that. It's all there for you. And we also have a new thing there where you can help support the podcast as well. It's called a tip jar. And you could tip whatever your heart's desire if you want to support the podcast, but don't want to necessarily support the podcast in going to Patreon, for example, or any of the links in any of the advertisements. You can do it there. But since we're on the topic of Patreon, you can head on over to patreon.com/reality T times 2, where there you can get access to even more than what I do here. There are 3 different tiers where you can get these shows ad free, as well as our next tier up where you would get another reality show that's being covered. So, we have Jersey Shore that's been getting covered. That's still being covered currently at the time of recording of this outro, but the future is bright with what's to come in the future, which I will be discussing, or I have discussed. I don't even know. And then also our next tier is a true crime tier as well. So you can definitely head over for that. But that is basically it. I will also just quickly mention here too, if you're interested in a different take of a podcast that I'm a part of, we do things a little differently. You can head on over to Next Take Podcast, where I usually drop bonus episodes here on this feed, but there you get a lot more. And that podcast is making changes. We're growing, doing new things, but you can definitely head on over there if you want to just hear a little bit different than what I do over here. So you can find that podcast over at our website, solo.to/next take podcast. And there we'll have all the links to your desire that will link you to any of your favorite podcast apps or YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of it. Social medias, it's all over there. But of course, you can still find that podcast at any of your favorite podcast apps. But that is it for this episode. We'll see you next time with another episode. Bye, everybody.